This evening, family. We are so glad you guys came out today. You are in for a treat this evening. So I am super excited. And Nyman, we put the swamp water video and you wanted us to give a little teaser. So we used the swamp water video as the teaser. And we actually played it. We played it yesterday for the community, and we also put it out in the email that everyone got. And we had quite a few people like, "Oh my God!" Like
everybody says that. Everybody says that. And in fact, some of my we're having rather extensive conversations in Africa because they're very excited about getting the technology out there. And everybody says the same thing. We watched your swamp water video. I'm like, why is that the most important thing? But I guess, if you're going to believe in something,
it's the visual, right? It's that visual. We know what swamp water is. We know what it looks like and smells like.
Yes.
We don't know what it tastes like, but you do.
Yeah. Actually, I don't.
Well, it was still swamp water. It just was
right, but but it tastes like this after my device. Perfectly clean water. But you're right, I do. You're right, I do. Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
It's amazing. You think that from a marketing standpoint what will go, but everybody likes the swamp video, and I shot that like 3-4 years ago or something like that. The device obviously looked different then than it does now, but the technology inside is the same.
All right. Well, it is 8:01. We are going to start. Good evening. We are recording. Perfect. Good evening, family, 10K family. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us. To all of our guests, we are so grateful that you took the time to spend with us this evening. We know that the greatest gift you can give is your time, and we are very grateful that you decided to spend it here with us this evening. So thank you so much. We have yet again another amazing Black founder that we are going to highlight this evening. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the campaign. That's how we always start. We pull up the campaign. I'll show you where all the documents are, show you where you go. We'll be putting the link in the chat throughout the evening. So please refer to that link. Also, if you've got any questions, any and all questions, you guys know how we do here. After the presentation, the floor is open for you. And so we ask that you put all of your questions in the Q&A. You can comment in the chat as you hear things that you want. But if you have a true question, make sure you put that in the Q&A because it's just easier to find them and to follow along. The chat gets to scrolling up really fast and it's hard to keep track of it. So all questions in Q&A, any comments you have, any side conversations, absolutely chat it up in the chat. We like the interaction and the engagement, but just make sure the questions go in the Q&A. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, you should see my screen. So here is the campaign. It's Caribbean Water Technologies. It's on WeFunder. So like I said, the link will be put in the chat. You can watch the intro video, and all of the documents are under the details tab. Hold on, my screen did something weird here. Okay. And you'll see all of the disclosures. Form C is down there. You see financial information, right? This is a convertible note, right? So if you've got questions about that, you can ask that after the presentation as well. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here. Now that we all know where to go, we've got the link in the chat. Perfect. I'm going to introduce you to tonight's founder, Nimon with Caribbean Water Technologies. The floor is yours.
Let me unmute myself. Thank you very much. First off, let me begin by saying it is an honor to be before the 10K folks. Didn't know you existed. You popped up out of nowhere. It's absolutely amazing. This has been one of my biggest concerns is how do we get our technology in front of our people so they have the opportunity to kind of participate in, we'll call it the game, as it were, which is investment in the opportunities that investing in startup companies presents. And 10K, bravo. I'm excited about you guys. Probably as excited as you are to have me on because as you know, when it comes to investment, it is a difficult road to hoe. There's a lot of talking, a lot of cajoling and begging, and you don't always get your way. But the crowdfunding opportunity that exists now, it doesn't necessarily level the playing field, but it gives a lot of us an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of startups like mine. So I'll get right into it. So again, my name is Nimon. Actually, it's Nimon Bondurant. Nimon's fine. I answered anything even remotely close, right? It's Nimon Bondurant. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Bondurant Technologies International, and of course of Caribbean Water Technologies, which is the topic of conversation here. We are the only Black-owned manufacturer of water purification technology in the United States, and we make the most advanced water purification systems in the world. Now, that's a very, very big statement to make, and I'm going to tell you why. We are, first and foremost, an engineering company, and secondly, we are a manufacturing company. And we're a manufacturing company now out of necessity. We started off designing our technology, and it was designed out of necessity. I had actually invented the device maybe 6 years ago, and it sat in my garage doing nothing. And then perchance, my wife convinced me to go on a cruise, and I'm not a big cruiser. In fact, I'd never been on a cruise, and it was my way of getting her off while I got down in the dungeon and did my thing. So finally, she convinced me to go on a cruise, and we ended up at St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, the day before the first of the 2 hurricanes hit. And we got chased out of there by that. And when we got back, I paid attention to what was going on the islands. And that's when I found out about cisterns. Well, it turns out the majority of the world gets their water from the sky. A lot of people think you get it from, lakes and ponds and rivers and the ocean and things like that. Of course we do, but the majority of the world gets theirs from rainfall. The rain falls down, falls off the roof, and ends up in their basement called a cistern, which holds the water for them, or something in their backyard, a large plastic tank catchment. And that is what they use for their water supply. The problem is that water cannot be consumed because it contains bacteria. So you've got all of these countries all over the world storing water that they cannot use. A good example is right after the hurricanes, as everyone knows, we shipped millions of bottles of plastic down to the Caribbean, to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, not realizing, or maybe they did realize it, there are tens of millions of gallons of water already on the island. They just couldn't drink it. No one had come up with a solution. It just so happens, because I went on that cruise, that I learned about cisterns, and the following June, I took one of my units down there, gave a demonstration to NASA, FEMA, AECOM, the University of the Virgin Islands, which is an HBCU, and I was asked to install a unit down there, which I did, and it ran for 3 years. And suffice to say, everyone was shocked, because the unit did exactly what I said it would do. And we attached it in someone's home, and it purified the water for all of those years. They never had any bacterial problems. And to give you a little context, I'll just talk about the Virgin Islands here. 4 out of 5 cisterns on the island fail for bacteria every time a test is run. That's why no one drinks it, because they don't trust it. And here's another fun fact. 98%, and still talking about just the Virgin Islands, not the entire Caribbean, which this also holds true for, 98% of all the people in the United States Virgin Islands drink only bottled water. They brush their teeth only with bottled water. They wash their food only with bottled water. They drink only bottled water. And when I learned that, I asked myself, how is this possible? How is it that no one has solved this problem? And it turns out that once I introduced my technology, the same question was asked me. People said, how come no one had invented this before? And I'm like, well, maybe it was meant for me to invent, right? So that being said, we've installed a unit down there, ran for approximately 3 years. And then last, I want to say November, I took 7 additional units down, and we've installed them in various places on the island. We've installed it at a warehouse, a farm, 2 government buildings, 3 residences, and a resort. And we installed them down there not to prove the concept, because the concept's already been proven. I have a patent and 2 more pending, but to prove it to the islanders that this works. And the units have been running down there for almost 90 days. Now, let me tell you why this is so special. First things that come to mind in the United States is, why didn't you go to Flint? Why didn't you go to California? Why didn't you go to Texas and places like that? Well, the problem with operating within the United States is politics always comes into play when you're trying to solve a problem. Sometimes people just want to have a problem. They don't really want to solve it. So in order for me, a Black man, to get his device, which I already knew was amazing, to the rest of the world, I had to take it to a place where they actually needed it and actually wanted to solve the problem. And I was able to do that in still within the United States. It was in the Virgin Islands. And so we've installed those units. My devices are water purifiers beyond anything out there. They purify water. They keep themselves clean. They're also very intelligent. When I designed them, I realized that once I designed my technology, in order for me to build a successful company, I had to maintain some form of an advantage. And the only way that you can keep an advantage with your technology is if you're on the leading edge of technological innovation. So I didn't build just a water purifier. I built one with brains. We imbued it with artificial intelligence, which is part of my background, and we made it an Internet of Things device. So the device, once it's installed and it's awakened, it actually monitors everything going on around it, the water, the air, the system, and it monitors it in real time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what it does is it puts out a continuous stream of information that shows how it is operating at any given moment. Now, here's the beauty of my device. When I built it, I understood kind of the conditions in the Caribbean and in other parts of the world. I'm only talking about the Caribbean right now, which is a $1.2 billion market. The kind of the environment down in the Caribbean is one of unstable power. Electricity goes out all the time, not just from storms. Randomly, it'll go off for hours. And since they operate from cistern water for the most part, a cistern in your basement is run from a pump. So you could be in a shower and suddenly the power goes off, which it does every week, and you're now out of water, and you're out of water for 6 or 8 hours. So my plan was to solve for all the problems they have. I said, I'm going to build an advanced device that does something that no one else does, and I'm going to make sure that it serves this community. So my devices purify water. They purge themselves clean. They have an internal battery that will provide you an additional up to 300 gallons of water if you lose power. You can attach solar panels to them and they'll run indefinitely. They are passive devices, meaning they use almost no energy. Water is pushed through them from an external source, whether it's the water authority, it's your cistern pump, it pushes through the unit. The unit uses no electricity, uses millivolts, almost nothing during this time, but it will turn on once every 3 to 5 days just to purge itself clean. So we're using no additional electricity, but we are producing completely potable water that is free of viruses, bacteria, cysts, heavy metals, color, odor, flavor. And now in a place where everyone drank bottled water, water coming out of every spigot in their home or their business is the same as bottled water, if not better. Now, once this concept has been proven, which it already has in the Virgin Islands, which is why we're starting to sell it, we started getting attention from the other islands. We started getting attention from South America. We started getting attention from Africa. And we have some pretty concerted conversations going on with the aforementioned, kind of countries. So, but our plan right now is to cut our teeth in one place. We know that what we have here is special. We have technology that exists nowhere else. General Electric, Suez Water, some of the largest water companies in the world, Culligan, they don't have this technology. As a matter of fact, they've been in contact with me for over a year now. They wanted to stay in contact to see how we do in the Caribbean, and I understand why. It's not easy to operate in the Caribbean. Most people think it's because it's a lot of Black people and they're not really savvy, but the truth is, the only real currency in the Caribbean is your reputation. And if you're known as taking from the people and not giving, then you're not going to get very far. I've been going down there for 3 years. I've gotten to know the government, gotten to know the businesses, and I've gotten to know the people, and they implicitly trust me, which is why I actually have units installed in government offices. So this technology is going to be assembled in St. Croix, Virgin Islands, and it's going to be exported worldwide. Now, currently we do it in North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, but I'm going to move the business down there because my plan is for this company to look top to bottom like me, right? I want the engineers, I want the scientists, I want management, I want logistics, everyone to be people of color. Because when they look at this company, because right now there are no manufacturers in this space, that are of color, I want people to say, wow, they make the greatest water technology in the world. And of course it's water, right? The entire world needs it. It's an obvious thing, right? But you wouldn't think so because there's not a big to do about it. In fact, I'm sure that a couple of the facts that I gave you about bottled water and things like that are not publicly known. And I think the reason for that is because this is the Caribbean. People want to be the people that go down there want to be entertained. They want to laugh. They want to dance. They want to drink. But the people in the Caribbean, if you get to know them, they feel as though they've been left out of kind of the whole dream. They feel as though they've been left in a time warp. They don't want to be in a time warp. They want to advance. They want to evolve. They want to be like the people on the continents, be it North America, South America, or other places. And they don't feel they actually have a piece of the American dream. And so part of my goal the last time I went down was to get the units installed, make a big to-do about it, but also to talk to the people to find out, how interested they were in possibly investing in the company. And I can tell you to a person, they thought it was just beyond belief. I mean, really beyond belief. That's why I have to introduce 10K to them. They thought it was absolute because, and it was made clear to me from the government people on down, they have never been offered ownership in anything. Companies come there, they open up businesses in the Caribbean, they take advantage of these tax shelters and tax opportunities, which are prodigious. They're really good things. For instance, I only have to hire 10 people in the Virgin Islands, and my company and the officers never have to pay taxes for the next 25 years. Federal taxes, state taxes, just for hiring 10 people in the US Virgin Islands is the only place like that. So I'm down there and I'm visiting all these companies down there, and I'm wondering why all of them have 10 people, right? But they've got major, facilities up in the United States, and now I understand why. And now I understand why the people down there feel as though they're being left out. So my plan is to take this technology, which is peerless technology. And when I say peerless, I mean, there is nothing like it anywhere. We're going to assemble it down there. We're going to export it down there, and we're going to export it worldwide from down there. This is an American company. This is a Black-owned company. It will stay that way. We are in a very unique position. At the current time, we're in serious conversations with the Department of Defense, with NOAA, the weather people, and with NASA. The Department of Defense, and most people don't know this, whenever we go into kind of an arena of war, we bring our own water. No US soldier has ever bought the ability with them to purify a body of water they came across, ever. And nor has the Department of Defense ever purchased such units or entertained it. We are the first company, forget the black part. We are the first company that is actually right at the threshold of providing prototypes to the Department of Defense so that our soldiers can go into battle with lightweight backpacks that will purify water, no matter what kind of water. There could be a dead hippo in it, and our device will remove everything, including radioactive material from the water. We're talking to NOAA, the weather people. I mentioned a moment ago that our device is intelligent, that it measures hydrologic and atmospheric, data points around our device. And the reason we made it intelligent is because in order to keep our edge, we had to know at any given time how our unit operates, whether there's a storm or not, or whether there's dirty water, or the system's starting to fail. We built that into the system, and I was only thinking about keeping our competitive edge, because I know once you enter this arena, you either lead or you fall behind. Well, it turns out this got the attention of NOAA, because when NOAA measures weather, they do it in 7-mile increments. So they'll tell you in a 7-mile radius that it's raining in your city, or maybe in this part of the city, but they can't tell you if it's raining in your neighborhood. My device, because it measures atmospheric anomalies, and air pressure, humidity, precipitation, things like that, is actually able to measure what they call microclimates, the climate within a 25-foot radius around my device. So now, since our device streams in real time, this data can tell NOAA exactly what's happening at my address, the address across the street, the address, the block over it. They're very interested because right now they can't get that granular. So we're talking to NOAA. We're also talking to NASA, because like the Army, NASA takes their own water, and our missions are limited to how far you can go with your water. NASA's interested in repurposing water, and that includes urine. Yeah, queasy subject, but our device can purify urine to the point where if you purify it and take it to a lab, you will not be able to differentiate it from actual bottled water. That's how good it is. So we have some very serious conversations going on with government entities. We have very serious traction right now in the US Virgin Islands. Again, we're not here in the United States because I don't really feel like dealing with the politics. I actually want to grow this company. And so we're making substantial progress down there. And the beautiful thing about it is, in private, the people on the island go, "You look like us. This is great. We're in," right? And you always, if you're trying to come and break into a marketplace, no matter where it is, you always want kind of the advocates, right? You want people to support what you're doing. But we're solving multiple problems down there, and they have more of a reason to trust me because I look like them, which is true. But I am also very intentional in trying to solve this problem and getting them out of this time work, while at the same time building a world-class company. And we have the potential to be just that. I will give you a quick statement made by the chief executive officer of a company called TDC. Forgive me, TDC, I'm sorry. TDB. They own 5 of the largest manufacturing plants in the United States. And they invited me out for a tour of one of their plants in Alabama. And they make parts for Polaris and Caterpillar and Department of Defense. And they gave me this tour, this 200,000 square foot facility. And afterwards, we went and had lunch, and the CEO said, "So, do you have any questions for me?" And I said, "I have just one. Why am I here?" Right? Because I don't know you and I never wrote to you. And he point blank told me, he says, "We got a copy of your PowerPoint deck." Excuse me. He says, and in a word, this is a Google moment. He says, "We want to help you in any way we can because what you're doing is going to work because the world is changing and water is becoming important." And of course, I know that simply by visiting the Caribbean, and we know that simply by the way things are going on in this country here. But it was helpful. It was helpful. It made me a little nervous, but I don't mind. A little bit of nerves never hurt anybody. So, okay, so I don't want to go too far afield here. So you know about our point of entry devices, and that's what they're called, point of entry. Another word for them is whole home or whole business water purifiers, right? They purify water. They're designed to simply plug in, turn on, and you can forget about it. An app will keep you up to date on how it's functioning, what the quality of your water is, because my devices actually have built in what's known as lab on a chip, where it analyzes the water going through the unit. So it's always going to monitor for any changes in water quality, and you're going to know about it. Those of us that live in the United States may take water for granted, but we know about boil water advisories, and we usually hear about those after the fact, right? You get home, don't drink the water, boil your water, but that was earlier, right? So we built lab on a chip in our technology. So our technology is designed to safeguard the most important thing one of the most important things in your life, and that's your drinking water. And we at the same time want to build and intend to build a world-class company. We have that opportunity. This is not a dream. And you folks as entrepreneurs and as investors understand that as a Black person, we can't just write something on a napkin and get it funded. We have to do all of the work. And I've, for the past 6 years, have worked very hard on getting this company to this point. And we're on the precipice of doing really great things. My anticipation is that the company should do several $100 million within the next year and a half with the conversations that we have going on and with the market that is currently open to us. Yes, we're starting off in the US Virgin Islands. Yes, it has a population of only 125,000. Next door to that is Puerto Rico. I think they're close to 3 million people. But the entire Caribbean market is a $1.2 billion market that no one has control over. And we have the only device that you can simply plug in and it'll do the job. In addition to that, we have our backpack coming out in the third quarter of this year. We have 2 other devices coming out. One's for RVs, because people love RVs up here, and one's for boats, blue water boats, freshwater boats, lakes, ponds, etc. Well, they'll be able to pull water in and utilize it. It'll be as pure as any bottled water. So as a manufacturer, Caribbean Water Technology stands to do extremely well this year. Our plan is to not just hire people and fly them down there, but to train the workforce down there. We'll fly them up here and teach them the craft. For folks that want to go live on an island, you can send us a resume because we're going to be posting jobs here probably latter part of next month. And we're going to be hiring everyone. We are a startup. Caribbean Water Technologies is a startup. However, it is currently a wholly owned subsidiary of Bondurant Technologies, which is not a startup. However, Bondurant is going to step back and let Caribbean Water Technologies grow into the company that it can be. And we believe that it is going to be a phenomenal success. And let me, 2 more things, and I know I'm short on time here. In fact, yes, I want to share something with you. This is something
take as much time as you need. This is important information. Take what you need.
Okay. Before I say that, I want to share something with you folks. I have, and I'm going to be announcing it on WeFunder tomorrow. And you got to be a nerd to appreciate this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's actually very groundbreaking. Aside from the fact that our technology is peerless, there's nothing like it. Most of us are probably familiar with the term hard water, right? It's that powdery stuff that's on your shower, and it's gets on your skin, dries your skin out, makes water taste weird. And generally, to buy a water softener is like $3,000, right? It's this big old tank. You got to fill it with salt every 6 months, and it softens your water, and it's good for your skin. You don't have to scrub down the shower that much. And it is what is the standard in the world, really, for softening water. A big old tank full of salt. Well, starting tomorrow, and we're going to announce this is almost the equivalent of the iPad replacing the DVD. When the iPad came out, the DVD became obsolete. I'm going to show you something right now that's going to make water softeners, which is the big old tank with salt, obsolete starting tomorrow. This is it right here. See this little metal tube? This little metal tube is going to be inside of our units. This metal tube will indefinitely remove hardness from water at a rate of 20 gallons a minute. You never have to add salt. You never have to do anything to it. It's simply going to do it. And it's patented technology. The beautiful thing about it is that salt has, the salt tanks require constant replenishment. Ours doesn't. And it will 100% remove all hardness from water. Never heard before. In fact, one of the largest water companies in the Caribbean is Culligan. We've heard of Culligan. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But one of the largest things that they sell down there are water softeners. And it's really kind of tricky the way they do it. They talk about making your water delicious, taste delicious. We have carbon filters and water softeners. And it's really great if all you're looking for is, soft skin, and kind of the idea that the water you can drink is clean, but carbon filters do not remove bacteria and viruses. This technology right here is going to make all that obsolete starting tomorrow when we make this announcement. And it's not going to make us too many friends in the water industry, but I don't care. That's not my job. My job is to serve the people that I intend to serve, whether it's the people that need the water or whether it's the stakeholders who are investors in this company, to build the most advanced technology in the world. And my goal is that the Caribbean, the US Virgin Islands, should be the center of the universe for advanced water purification technology. And this little device right here is an absolute game changer. In fact, the people that I've made privy to it over the past couple of days couldn't even believe it was real. And they're like, this is not even possible, but we sent them the data and now they know. And so when we do come out as a company, we're coming out with technology no one else has, and we're going to continue that. We're going to continue to evolve the technology and introduce new methodologies for purifying water. One of the byproduct of our device is it produces the data I mentioned before. And the data being used by NASA, by NOAA. I've been told by people who actually sell data that we're going to reach a certain point where the data is actually going to be more valuable than the devices themselves. Now, personally, I don't understand that because you can't drink data, but I understand what they mean from a business standpoint. It's going to be a money generator. And my desire is for this company to be as big, if not bigger, than any other company out there, because let's face it, there are not a whole lot of Black companies that can stand shoulder to shoulder with some of the big boys out there. We believe that we will be able to. It's not a dream. We're actually doing it right now, but we're starting very quietly in a little small section of the world known as the Caribbean. And it's kind of being ignored because it's a great place for margaritas and things like that, but it's also a $1.2 billion market. We have serious contacts in Brazil that just finished building 1.1 million cisterns, but they have no way to purify the water. So that's going to happen probably later this year. We're in very extended, and actually we're about to begin work with 4 African countries: Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, Nigeria, 5, and South Africa. These are conversations that have been going on for a minute. They want the technology, but it's kind of a long way out there. And I told them what is required for us to get it out there would be for them to actually build the market for us. And they're in the process of doing that. So the plan here is to build a world-class company that from the top down that looks like us. And I'm not saying that everybody here is Black, but that is Black, that represents, and ultimate goal, of course, is to IPO. I have no intentions of selling the company. I do intend to IPO it. But because this is my baby, I have no intention of ever giving up majority control. When we IPO, I'm going to maintain majority control of this company because I don't want it to be Black in name only, right? It has to stay that way. I want the management, I want the scientists, I want the engineers, I want as many people as possible in this country to be part of this company and build it up so that we can have something to point to. I'm not saying that, that my company necessarily needs to be the standard bearer. But know that when I approach a problem like this, I approach it with the expectation to win. And I am passionate about water. And the fact that I've actually gotten as far as I've gotten with this project with really no expectation is actually an amazing thing. And I'm excited about what the future holds. And I'm grateful to be able to present this technology to you here today, because I promise you, this technology is one of those things you don't want to miss. I missed out on Pixar. I missed out on Uber, right? And we always go, man, I heard about that, I didn't do it, and so for me to make it easier, I said, okay, we'll go ahead and start generating sales. We'll go ahead and start generating traction. We'll go ahead and start getting the notoriety. Oh, and there was one more thing I wanted to mention to you. the US government is starting to hand out water contracts. Now, I'm not looking for the US government to fund this company. I'm going to say that outright. This company is going to be sourced and it's going to be built through sales and support of our equipment. But a company can grow faster if you have a government behind it, at least some government work. The government is starting to hand out water contracts and we are in the running. Now, here's the beautiful thing about it. Let's say that they end up giving it to Suez Water instead of to Caribbean Water Technologies, because we're just a little nothing, right? Today, government law states that 20% of that total value of that contract must go to a minority firm if there's a minority firm in that space. We're the only one in the space. So I care whether we get it, but not really, because we're still going to get it. And it's just another opportunity for us to come in and continue to build this company up and make it a standard for everybody to be proud of and point to. And, you know, we're certainly not the first company. There are a lot of construction companies and other companies out there that are doing very well, but in the space of water purification, which is the bottom of the pyramid, which, let's be honest, if we don't have clean water, none of us are going to be around for very long. It's an important space. And I think that we stand to do very well. We've made immense progress. And something you said earlier, Tawana, it was said by a priest who invested in the company. He says, you're on God's team. And I agree with that. I agree with that because the timing, the way this thing has rolled out over the course of these years, and even up to the point when I decided, based on my conversations with people in the Caribbean, to do a crowdfunding campaign because they have no sense of ownership. I said, okay, we'll crowdfund it and give it up to you. I was led to do that. And here we are today at the precipice of doing some great things and giving ownership, even if it's $100, but giving real ownership to people that can say, I own a piece of that company. And I tell you what, I'm excited. I am as excited as I could be. So that's kind of my elevator pitch. It was the long ride. We have some substantial opportunities before us. We expect to do great things. And my prayer is that the folks on this call and beyond are willing to join us in this journey. But one other thing, I know I said that before, but I'm gonna say it one more time. One other thing is, starting next week, we begin a rather concerted advertising campaign. That's why I said your timing is great, because next week we're gonna be running between 800 and 1,200 commercials per day in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. That's digital billboards, that's social media, that's newspaper, that's radio, that's television, that's interviews. My plan is to saturate the islands with this opportunity, because while I can't deny anyone, the opportunity to buy, before I met you folks, I had only introduced my friends and family to it. And the other part was I was going to promote it down in the Caribbean, because I know I got a Black audience down there and I wanted them to buy into it. And when I tell you they're going to buy into this. I've had too many conversations. They're like, win. I'm like, it's coming, it's coming. So that's my pitch. And I welcome any and all of your questions.
Well, thank you so much. I will start reading the questions. Guys, make sure you put them in the Q&A. I saw some really good questions pop into the chat. So make sure that you put them in the Q&A, because that's the only place I'm going to read from. Okay. All right. Okay. Charles says, have you thought about teaming up with Moses West and his air water generator?
Never heard of him.
So Moses West is a gentleman, and he creates water from the air.
You're right. I know about him. It took a second.
Yeah.
No, only because that is kind of a different space. The Israelis are doing that right now with the military. And yeah, I saw his device. It's like a dehumidifier, if you will, produces water. But what we're dealing with is water that falls straight out of the sky. It's readily available. What Moses is doing is amazing, because it pulls water where apparently there is none. But no, there's not a real fit there. But I've read on this technology, yes.
Very good. Anonymous says, it looks like Nimon owns all of the stock and is the sole designer / engineer pushing out the technology. What insulates the company if he runs out of ideas, turns ill, etc.?
Okay. That's a very good question. Yes, I am, but no, I'm not. Right. So I am the originator of the ideas, but I'm not even by a stretch the smartest guy. Right. I'm surrounded now by people that have control. I shouldn't say control, that have access to the patent technology. I'm not the only one in possession of it. And I understand that if tomorrow, a snake bites me or somehow I drown in a puddle of water or something, that this stuff could be lost. I can assure you that I do not have and am not the only one in control or access to the technology. I am the majority shareholder, but that's not a permanent situation either. So you can rest assured that this is a question that was put to me by my wife years ago. What happens if on one of your flights, you parachute out, with the $5 million or whatever? No, this is going to be a publicly owned company, but publicly owned by us. And it can't be owned by us if it's only owned by me and I'm in control of its secrets. I have no intention of doing that. I'm going to share the wealth with us, because at the end of the day, when I bring people in to help evolve the technology, I can't be the only guy thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And nor am I at this moment. This little device I told you about, not me, part of me, right? So, yeah.
Very good. Charles says, how can an individual purchase one of the units?
Go to the website and there should be a link that says pre-order, because we're taking pre-orders now. We'll start delivering in June.
Can you tell us the prices of the units? I know they're different sizes.
Right, so there are 3 different sizes, 4,500. So they're 5 gallon per minute, 10 gallon per minute, and 20 gallon per minute. 5 gallon per minute is 45, the 10 gallon minute is 85, and the 20 gallon per minute is 12.5. Now, you think, oh my God, how can islanders afford that? Well, suffice to say that our plan is to make it affordable to everyone, and not tomorrow, but today. And the way to do that is twofold. One, we're arranging financing for islanders, because believe it or not, the average home in the Virgin Islands spends $125 per month on bottled water. Mm. I can get our unit, I can make it available for lease for about 80 to 90 bucks a month. So those are the prices, and the price is the price, right? There's engineering and there's components that have a cost to them that are in it. So I would love to sell them for $500, but then it won't do what it does. And what it does is very important. It ensures that you always have safe water to drink.
Very good. Brenda says, this is great, but what is your biggest impediment to grow worldwide?
There are no impediments. And I want to be careful when I say that, right? The only impediment is no one will buy, right? I'll put it to you that way, because the conversations that we're having right now are not conversations I initiated, right? We have interest from all over the world because somebody found our site, or somebody here called someone else, and they were made aware of our technology long before we started even installing them in the Caribbean. I guess maybe the biggest impediment would be, a lack of funding. That would be an impediment. But beyond that, we anticipate we're not going to have any problems. Now, the key is, and it's a phrase, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. So I'm not trying to bite off Africa and South America and all these other places simultaneously. We're going to cut our teeth, if you will, in the Virgin Islands and spread out through the Caribbean. We can do that over the course of the next year and a half, and then move further abroad after that point. Now, does that mean that we can't sell some units to other places? No, it doesn't mean that at all, because I want to put people to work. I want to further the technology, because what works in the Caribbean may not work in Africa. And so when one of our units goes out there, all the sensors will be reading the area and provide us with perhaps different information.
Okay. I'm hoping this question is in there, but I'm just going to ask it. How are the units installed?
I was going to say a carpenter, a plumber, because they're glorified inline filters. You can't just take it and connect it to your faucet. Those are point of use. Ours is point of entry, which means when the pipes actually come into your business or your home, right there. So you have to have a plumber come in and install it. We'll install it in the midst. So the water coming in, whether it's from the water authority or from your cistern or from your well, it pushes through our unit. Now, we also build in a bypass in case you want to bypass the unit, but it has to be plumbed in.
Okay. Tanya says, are you open to opening a branch in other Caribbean islands? And I feel like you've answered that, but touch on that again.
Oh, that's a tough question. Do I want to open up in other Caribbean islands? Oh my goodness. Yes. In fact, I have to, right? Because the United States Virgin Islands is not part of CARICOM, which is the kind of the Caribbean version of the European Union. And if I simply make them and export them to these other countries, there's going to be a tariff. And the tariff could be as much as 100% of the price. Mm-hmm. So I have to open up offices, and that would include partial assembly facilities in one or two of the other islands. So yes, that is actually the glorious part of my job. Should it be Aruba? Should it be Barbados? Should it be? I mean, I'm a kid, right? I'm like, oh my God. I see. But the answer, forgive me for digressing. The answer is yes.
Very good. Trent says, does this device purify seawater?
Nope. See, and I don't want it to, right? That's what everyone else, that's the thing everyone else is chasing. When in fact, 2% of the world's water supply is fresh water. And I think humankind only drinks like 0.1% of that. And those are our lakes and streams and ponds and rainfall and things like that. There isn't any need for me to go and fight for something that falls freely from God's heaven. Mm. So I'm not going to try to convert something that's salty when what falls from the sky is without salt, without minerals, without everything. It's just that it sits in a basin, and bacteria being opportunistic, it tends to grow there. Solve that problem.
Perfect. Glenda says, what happened to the unit that operated for 3 months? Is that how long it's been in operation, or did it only last 3 months?
It actually operated for 3 years, not 3 months. It was installed 3 years ago. The reason I pulled it out is because I don't know if you had a chance to see my new units. Has anyone seen? Have we shown them the blue units?
No, but we can pull it up.
Oh yeah.
Show them.
Let me show you real quick. So the unit, and in this age of political correctness, I'm going to call it. The unit that was installed 3 years ago was a dumb unit, right? It didn't have the ability to kind of look at the data or look at this. It didn't have sensors. You simply pushed water through it, and it turned on. You had to manually go press a button to clean the water. At the time, I was only interested in finding out whether the technology could operate in an environment so humid and so full of salt. Let me just show you real quick. Where is it? This one, I think. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's that water softener I was telling you about. Look at that price. Is that not crazy? Okay. So these, those are users. These are the units right here. We've got videos and other things. This is what they look like now. They're 40, oh, forgive me. Can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so they're 43 inches long by 33 inches high by this one here is 6 inches thick. These are 12 inches. These are 20 gallon per minute units. These right here are 10 gallon per minute units. This is what they look like now. And well, that's essentially what they look like now. So the other one is kind of a stainless steel unit, and it's not this sexy. This one's sexy. Okay, there we go.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Tony says, I may have missed this, but who does the actual, oh, Tony, I asked this one. Who does the actual installation? You said a plumber.
Plumbers.
Then Tony says, does this business bring jobs into the Caribbean and other markets it looks to move into?
Oh, see, and that, of course, that's why 10K is so awesome, right? So we kind of do the same thing, but not really. You're better at it when it comes to that. My goal is not to be the end all be all for everyone down there. My goal is to do a manufacturing assembly company, engineering, but then to hire and help startup companies support me. And that includes installation, that includes maintenance. I'm going to give you one. This is a beautiful one. So I've already got the gentleman who had the unit installed 3 years in his house. He's starting up a company to do the installations. There's another gentleman that's been part of this, and he wants to do the maintenance. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this. Our devices will be tied into the internet pretty much at the majority of the locations. And even the ones that it's not, we're going to set up point-to-point transmission. That means you can set up an office someplace else. It could be your home. And you'll be able to monitor everyone's units and identify problems so that because our device was designed to anticipate and predict problems because it's built that way, you'll be able to see them before the people who have them see them, and you can arrange maintenance, or you can catch something that occurs and be right on the spot. So the ultimate goal is to have people supply us our equipment locally, whether it's stainless steel, whether it's plumbing, whether it's bladder tanks, whether it's pumps. If they don't supply pumps, then we'll put them in contact with someone who can, whether it's installation, whether it's maintenance, whether it's financing. I don't want to get into that business. My job is to put people in business and to serve the community. I can't serve the community if I do everything and all the money comes to me. My goal is to help grow the Caribbean. They really desire this because the 2 hurricanes and the pandemic have devastated most of the islands in the Caribbean. Tourism's down to almost nothing. Cruise ships don't go there now. So the Virgin Islands said, look, we need to change the dynamic. So we're bringing jobs, but we're also allowing people to start other businesses to support our effort. So yes.
Very good. feel like you answered this one, but I want us to make sure we're clear. Are there any competitors?
Well, there are always competitors, right? Um, and I won't say there aren't. Culligan's a competitor. Suez Water is a competitor. But if you're asking if there are any competitors in the, oh, how do I say this? There are whole house water purifiers. You could Google that and see them all day long. And it's usually these blue kind of things hanging down from the wall and a stainless steel container over there. And there's sediment filters and they're carbon block and they're ultraviolet. And they do a great job of killing bacteria and making the water taste delicious. The only problem with them, and this is a big one, I actually had to point it out to a resort on the island, you're killing all the bacteria. Bravo for that. The water tastes delicious because you're sitting through carbon block. The only problem is that the dead bodies of the bacteria, you're still drinking it because you're simply killing them. My device is a physical stop. They never reach your mouth. Now, once I told that to this resort general manager, they shut their system down. Because if you're paying $800 a night to stay in a place, do you really want to know the water you're drinking has dead bacteria in it? Because there's a favorite movie of mine back in the day was
and
called
I hate that you just told me that.
Oh, I'm sorry. We want to keep you blissful, so just ignore that. But one of my favorite movies was this one called Jurassic Park. And they were talking about bringing the dinosaurs back to life and they wouldn't be able to reproduce. And the mathematician said, and I like to think of this, life will always find a way. So yeah, you might be killing bacteria, but what if, right? I would rather they never enter my glass of water. And that is the selling point for my technology. Yes, there are competitors. There are no competitors when it comes to ultrafiltration or nanofiltration, water purification. That's kind of turnkey. You plug and play, you install it, let it run, and you walk away. It tells you when it requires your attention. So yeah, they're competitors, but
Very good. I'm interested in its use for agriculture and rancher purposes. That's a question from Sada.
Great question. We are installed on a farm in St. Croix, one of the largest organic farms in St. Croix. It's called Seja Farms, S-E-J-A-H. In fact, you'll see it as one of the installations. And they're using it. They're using it for their crops, and they're using it. They don't have cattle. It's mostly goats and chickens and lambs and things like that. They're using well water, and they started using it because the well water has a lot of bacteria in it, but now it comes out perfectly clean. The only problem that they have that our device doesn't solve until tomorrow is hardness in the water. I already called the farmer today. He's like, sit it down, brother, sit it down right now, because all of his plants are covered in this white dust. Once we get this thing installed in a couple of weeks, that goes bye-bye. So yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, he is a great advocate. And the commercials I mentioned, he is going to be probably in 50% of them promoting the technology as well as the opportunity. And the advertising is just that. We're promoting the technology because we're looking to get sales, but we're also massively promoting the investment opportunity. That's important, ownership.
Very good. Kathy says, how can a consumer use this in the US proper?
Buy it and have it installed. Simple as that. You can buy water filters at Home Depot. You can buy them at Lowe's. You can buy them at any number of places. The question is, and this is one of the reasons I'm working down in the Caribbean as opposed to, up here. We're a little jaded in the United States, right? We'll get our little, our water out of our refrigerator or through some kind of a water tank or something like that. And most of us really don't think about our water unless we become aware of it. But on par, we all need water purification here in the United States. However, because I don't feel like dealing with kind of the political stuff here, I figured we'd establish our reputation, then we could come back ashore. And United States is show and prove country, right? So we're about to do that. We'll be doing a lot of business probably before we come back, and that probably will not take very long.
Okay. Glenda says, have articles been published in the island where you installed sharing about the installation of your water unit?
Begins next week. We were purposefully very, very quiet about this for numerous reasons. One, we know the bottled water companies are not going to be happy with us because they have an ironclad grip on the Caribbean. A bottled water is 3 times more expensive down there than it is up here. And now with our new water softener, the Culligans down there are not going to be happy either. More importantly, as a small minority concern, we wanted to make sure that we'd proven the concept and gotten the goodwill of the island before we started making announcements. In addition to the commercials that we're going to be running, we have multiple interviews, joint press releases with the university and with the government coming out. So you're going to hear a lot more about us, but we have purposely been quiet because we wanted to kind of come out all at once and catch other folks off guard, not give anyone an opportunity to come in and try to counter our technology because they can't, but you can never, assume that companies won't. So no, nothing yet, but stay tuned.
Okay. How much water and how fast does the backpack filter?
The backpack will filter 1 gallon every 10 minutes, right? And the reason for that is because the backpack is a different animal, right? You're camping with it, you're trekking with it, the military is going to use it. So we wanted it tighter. So the backpack filter, actually, we'll put it to you this way. It will remove viruses, bacteria, cysts. It'll even remove color, odor, flavor. It'll even remove radioactive material. That'll give you some idea on just how powerful it is. The government already knows it. We've submitted all of our documents and everything. We're not just going to sell it to them. We're going to make it available to the general public as well, so that they too, can go drink from that beautiful stream that you don't want to drink from because it might have flesh-eating virus in it, right? This is going to ensure that that doesn't occur. So 1 gallon every 10 minutes. I have no intention of making it any faster than that because a gallon of water is a lot of water.
Yeah. Michael says, I think he says, where do I send my resume is what I think Michael says.
Stay tuned to our website. And our website, it's not the Bondurant site. The website is VI, Virgin Islands, the number 4, ever, VI4ever, EVER.com. Stay tuned. We'll be posting it. Heck, man, if I wasn't part of this company, I'd be putting a resume in because they can cook down there.
Tammy says, she's got a couple of questions. How much does the unit weigh?
Okay, so the unit is not meant to be mobile. The backpack is, but the ones that are point of entry or whole house, the 5 gallon one weighs, 5 gallon per minute one weighs 175 pounds. The 10 gallon per minute one weighs 220, and the 20 gallon per minute unit weighs 250 pounds. Okay. Now, they are designed to be secured in place. They are stormproof. We designed them so that they could survive hurricanes. So they're made of very heavy stainless steel. Everything is watertight inside. They're designed to survive so that after a major storm, you just turn them on and they operate.
Very good. Tammy's second question is, how many units is needed for the standard size house?
Well, that's interesting. If you look at the units we have installed, it's overkill on all of them, right? Even the smallest unit that's 5 gallons a minute is installed at a duplex. That's 2 homes. So they have 2 kitchens. They have 4 showers, actually. They have a washroom. So our 5 gallon per minute unit is sufficient to operate a duplex with a caveat, right? So 5 gallons per minute is and is not a lot of water. If you open up the traditional faucet, you get anywhere from 0.75 to 1.25 gallons per minute. So you multiply that over 2, then you got what you got. If you look at some of our installations, you'll see a beige bladder tank next to it. That bladder tank generally holds about, I want to say, anywhere from 10 to 50 gallons of water. What it's designed to do is to ensure that if you start opening up everything, if you turn on 2 showers, start washing the dishes, turn on the dishwasher, and then go decide you're going to wash your car, then you're going to start losing pressure. We want to make sure that never occurs. So we add a bladder tank to our system to ensure that you always have pressure and that you always have water. So our smallest unit will serve a duplex. The 10 gallon per minute unit is currently installed at a quad of 4 homes. And so you can imagine the 20 gallon unit could serve a small apartment complex. And we actually have that installed at a villa that has about 8 units. And it's overkill. No one has experienced any decrease in pressure. The water quality is phenomenal. Everyone's just excited and hyped about the ability to drink out of their faucets.
Very good. And you tell us again the prices of the 3 units.
$4,500 for the 5 gallon per minute, $8,500 for the 10 gallon, and $12,500 for the 20 gallon per minute unit.
How long does the unit last before having to be replaced?
It doesn't have to be replaced. The unit is designed to run for between 7 and 10 years, and that is the length of time that the membranes, which are not made by us, they're made by companies such as Dow Chemical, Koch, Allied, things like that. Now, the reason we say it lasts indefinitely is because they say the membranes last between 7 and 10 years because they end up slowly getting clogged up over time. And, a kind of a construct builds up on the outside of them that looks like a wasp nest, and they have to use acid or alkaline to burn it off, and then slowly wears down, the membranes. Now, I took this as a challenge because I don't want to introduce acid or alkaline into the Caribbean environment, because once you put it in a machine, you got to dump it someplace. So instead, our device uses a 100% organic solution, and I'm gonna get a little nerdy here, that breaks down the polysaccharide structures. Essentially what it does is it prevents the membranes from being clogged. And if it does get somehow clogged because bacteria kind of releases this sticky substance, then our unit every 6 months does what is called a clean in place. And it turns on and brings water and the solution into the unit and sits there for 15 minutes. It dissolves all that solution and then flushes it out. Because we don't have the concern of the membranes being worn down by acid or the buildup of this little wasp's nest, we believe, and we'll only find out, that it should last 10 to 15 years before the replacement of the membranes is required. And replacement of the membranes on, say, the 20-gallon unit, it's about $400. So if you get 10 years out of this and then have to pay, or even if you get 7, and then have to pay $400 to get the unit back up to kind of perfect operating condition, because the units are designed in a componentized function. We can yank the membranes out and put fresh ones in, but we're not going to have to do that on on a frequent basis at all.
Okay. What type of maintenance does the unit require, if any?
It'll tell you, right? So I built these units to be, actually, I submitted my designs to the United Nations, and they wrote back and said, well, in order for us to accept it, they had to be locally manageable. So that means they want the units to require minimal maintenance. And since our systems are for, with the exception of our backup pump for power outage and kind of a flushing, we have no moving parts. So that the units are just the units. That's it. They're designed to simply operate. Now, that being said, these are man-made, right? Including the sensors. Things will fail, but everything is built in kind of with a redundant system, so we know when something fails. When something fails, then we'll just get out and replace it.
Okay.
Did I answer the question correctly?
I think you did. Okay. Dwayne says, and I'm gonna combine 2 questions here. Dwayne and Saudak have a similar question. So Dwayne's question says, what about the patents? Can your technology be copied and duplicated? And then Saudak says, if you can give us your thoughts on a business coming and taking and duplicating your IP.
Okay, firstly, that is the reality of the world. I can promise you, the moment our units are out there, someone's going to buy them, and I won't even mention them, but they're going to buy it and they're going to reverse engineer it. Of course, our patents can be stolen. They're stolen every day, all day. The key is, and this was brought to my attention by the government in the Virgin Islands. They said it's not the patents, it's the relationships, right? Which is why we quietly built up the relationships. At the end of the day, reputation and relationships are really the only currency. Your patent will protect you. So to the extent that it prevents somebody else from taking it, copying it, and then introducing a cheaper version, into the Caribbean, we're protected, but there are never any guarantees to that. The ultimate goal for us is to assume our technology is going to be stolen, but to continue to evolve and improve it so we kind of stay ahead of that wave, if you will. I can do nothing about someone buying it and disassembling it. It's going to happen. Now, that's a different place for me, because it was hard for me to even introduce my baby to the engineers that started manufacturing it, because they're like, well, Nimon, we actually have to see the inside of it. And I'm like, no, right? So I've let go, and I understand that at some point someone's going to take the technology. So our goal is to build the relationships so that when we do work with countries and with individuals, it's the relationship that they're working with. They make it seem like it's unpopular, but I speak to a lot of people overseas, and made in America means something. It means something more than made in China, made in India, made anywhere else. So made in America actually means that it's a quality product. And if you can establish good relationships, then at the end of the day, the people that you're dealing with are going to buy from you because they know you. All things being equal, friends will always buy from friends. So it's a long answer to your short question. We cannot prevent people from stealing. We can only do our due diligence and get our patents filed, get our trademarks filed. And then when someone does steal them, we go to the courts. But in the meantime, we have no illusions about this not being stolen. Of course it's going to be stolen, but we intend to continue to evolve it.
Very good. Can you explain the convertible note structure?
So, essentially what we're offering here is your investment gets you 5% equity over the course of two years. And it's I want to say 20% discount. So what that means is that you're going to get equity in the company, and in a period of time that it converts to equity, the value of that is going to be whatever you paid minus 20%. So at a minimum, your investment is going to be worth 20% more than you invested. That's essentially how it works.
Okay.
So, the ultimate goal here is we're not trying to give you a 1-for-1, right? If you're going to invest, you want to invest in a company that, as it grows, the value of your convertible note or whatever it is that you're using increases in value as well. And it is not my intention to opt out in 2 years and give you 5%. My goal is, in all candor, is for this thing to convert in the next year. That's my plan, because I'm doing this to give ownership, because I can't take it with me. And the reason that you're trusting me in this is because you want to buy and get the opportunity to get it on the ground floor of a company like this. So our convertible note is designed for us, and that's the reason why we set the cap at 3 million. 3 million, it's easy for us to go to the next round. And the moment we go to the next round, your money automatically converts, and it converts from the convertible note into actual equity. I want that for you. I want that for every investor. Otherwise, I'd have made it a $20 million note and made it 4 years out. I wanted to make it easy for you to get there. And so we're going for the full $5 million. That'll allow us to stand up the factory. And then once we've done that, we're going to have to go for more money in order to expand further into the Caribbean. At that moment, then everyone's convertible note converts. And what if you spend $100? Obviously, it's now worth, it's actually worth 120 at this point.
Okay. Maria says, how much does it cost to manufacture the units? And she says, is it a unit placed in the home for people to purchase? And yes, Maria, we talked about that. Yes, a plumber can install it. You can purchase the unit. But that's a good question, that first part. How much does it cost to manufacture?
I can't really share that information. That's company confidential, right? Because what it leads to is, well, why are you charging that much for the unit? Right? So suffice to say that we don't have large margins on the unit. But at the same time, in order to grow a company, we have to pay people, right? We need engineers, we need scientists, we need employees for logistics and sales and marketing and all of these things. But we don't have large margins on the cost of goods of our devices. But I can't really share what it costs to build. That's company confidential information.
Okay. Jesse says, is the revenue coming from sales only, or is there a rental unit strategy?
Right. So right now it's coming from sales, but absolutely part of the plan to get it into the hands of more people is to have a lease to own strategy as well. And I mentioned earlier before that our plan is also to sell our data. And while that might seem like something nebulous, NOAA is very serious about paying for this data. And so are any number of other companies. They're interested in acquiring the data. And so the revenue will come from that, and it'll be a continuous stream. It's not, here's $50,000, give me your data, because the data comes out every day. So yeah, we are planning on doing a lease to own, because at the end of the day, I need everyone to have this unit that needs it. It wouldn't be fair if only the haves had access to the unit. There are those that are, and I'm using this phrase, kind of judiciously, the have-nots need it. The people who can least afford it are the ones that need it. And so my goal is to get it into their hands. And it's not just for those that can afford to buy it. We also are bringing in some and I can't name them at this second, but some rather large corporations that invest money in the water sector for underserved populations. And believe it or not, the United States, Virgin Islands, and the Caribbean, they're underserved populations when it comes to water. So we're going to have a number of these units, pretty significant number, kind of underwritten by major corporations. At the end of the day, everyone needs clean water. Everyone is entitled to it.
Very good. Sasha says, this is amazing. I love water. Sasha, I love water too. I love
Yeah.
water too. I do. Says the device is using Internet of Things technology and potentially sharing data. What protections does it have in terms of cybersecurity and or not being hackable?
Okay, so this data can only be shared if you kind of sign off on it. We're not just going to take it. Everything's going to be encrypted. Yes, it's Internet of Things, but our data is going to be encrypted. So I don't know what you'd be hacking anyway. You know, how much water the person used today. You know, how much pressure was going out of the unit. But there's some other data that that might be valuable, but it has nothing to do with your address or your personal information. We enter none of that. The only thing that might be personal is it tracks geospatial location, which is your address, but it doesn't show your address. It shows the point on the map. Everything else is germane to the operational capabilities and processes of the system itself. It's designed to allow us. So from the standpoint of someone hacking in it, of course they'd hack it so they'd have access to what we have access to, but it's going to be encrypted.
So Maria, I normally don't read from the chat, but this was a good comment given what's going on currently in the world. So Maria put ransom in the chat. So is there any risk? You know, we've got the thing going on now with gas. That's why gas lines are so high, right? Because one of the pipelines has been hacked for ransom. And so we'll be standing on line for 3 hours for gas. Is there a potential for something like that to happen?
With what? One of my units?
With one of your units?
No, my units are built to be autonomous. And we like to use the word wake them up. Because they are units that are built with artificial intelligence, they can run themselves. Once it's installed and the moment power is applied and the unit is turned on, that's the moment it's born. And from that moment, it knows everything. It's the only thing it doesn't know is how it operates in your environment. All that stays within the unit. You know, it doesn't require me externally to do anything. It's what we call a fire and forget program. You turn it on, you walk away. Your app is going to say, hey, Nimon, it's been 90 days and I noticed that the filter isn't processing as well. Could you please replace that external bag filter, which costs you $1.25? I go out, it takes me 1 minute to swap that out. Boom, thank you very much. The unit is designed to be interactive with you and only you. You'll have an app, and that app is its way of communicating with you. How much water you use today, how much you have left, when you're going to be out of water, what the condition of your water is. How does your water taste, right? It's going to query you from time to time. Does your water taste any different? Because if you say, yes, it tastes slightly different, the unit will then adjust itself to maybe purge more often to keep itself cleaner, as opposed to say every week. It may do it every 4 days. So it's an autonomous system designed to run independently of us. However, you can opt in that will allow us to monitor it remotely in case you go on vacation or you just don't want to be bothered with it. But all that data, of course, is also going to be encrypted.
Very good. Jesse says, Jesse, I had this question too. Are there any opportunity for Black people to become franchise owners?
We hadn't gotten that far yet, right? I'm open to anything, right? I am open to any and all things because this is a Black project, right? So I'm malleable in that sense. So in kind of the long way of it, we're already doing that in the conversations we're having with Brazil and the countries in Africa. Each country has its own needs and desires and wants to bring the technology there. So in that regard, there are opportunities for distribution. And now I don't immediately want to go to retail. For instance, I don't want to see this device in Home Depot. However, I'm open to seeing it in distribution. So if, for instance, you believe, whoever is asking the question or anyone else, that you can bring this to a particular market, we can have a conversation about that. And we have many empty chairs in this company. And while we do know what we're doing, we don't have all the answers. And we certainly don't have access everywhere. If you believe you can develop a market, I'm willing to talk to you. Because my job aside from what it is we're doing, which is making water drinkable, is to put you in business.
I love that answer and I love that question. So, I'm getting ready to be a landowner in Ghana. That's where I'm going to retire. So I got dibs on the Ghana market.
Yeah.
I said it first where anybody else can say
Are
it.
you serious?
I
Great place. Great place. I got some great contacts there.
Stephanie says, oh, this is another, all the questions are great, but this is awesome.
Yeah.
Stephanie says, as a prospective investor, is there also a way to sponsor a unit or units for people?
Of course. My mother needs purified water in her home. And that's a fact, because I was just there and I'm like, she's got all these cases of water. I'm like, why? She's like, because the water tastes terrible. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fix it. So I'm sponsoring one for my mom. So the answer is yes, there is.
Very nice. Okay. Let's see one that hasn't. Can these units be used in drought-stricken areas?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And this is beautiful, right? So I told you how much the units weigh, but you know what? You could literally take this unit and drop it in the middle of a savanna, deploy some solar panels, and it's going to purify whatever water's there. Now, when you say drought-stricken, it can only work if there's actually water there, right? So it's not going to pull it out of the air. If you have a water source, if that fresh water source is polluted, our device will make it drinkable. It's designed to, when I said that it was autonomous, that's exactly what it is. It doesn't require electricity because you can attach solar panels and it'll do its thing in the middle of a field whenever you go out there and turn it on. So drought stricken, yes and no. Yes, it will if there's water.
Okay. Daniela says, does your family use this technology?
Yep. Of course. My mom will soon. And she was getting on me that I'm using it and she's not, because she's my mom.
Yeah, mom was supposed to get the second unit.
You don't want to experiment with mom. It's got to be right because boy, mom's a toughie.
Trent says, will the commercials be available online?
Yes. They're going to be run in Puerto Rico and Caribbean on like the news, the popular newspapers and the radio stations. And but if I'm going to be running them here in the United States, no. But you could pull up any of the radios. You'll be able to pull up any, if not all, of the radio stations in the Caribbean. You'll be able to pull up the newspapers, the consortium, the source, newspapers, and you'll see the ads every day. We have animations and we have commercials. We were blessed. We got some of the most well-known. Only person I didn't get is Tim Duncan, but we got some of the most well-known people and respected people on the island that are going to be in the commercials. And they've already invested. They've already bought units. And so, yeah, these people are already popular. I'm probably just going to make them a little bit more, not much, but they're going to be seen everywhere. Digital billboards, newspapers, social media, all of that. Because part of the relationship building was for me not to go out and hire the most popular people, but to garner the trust of the island. And the people on the island said, well, if that person says it's good, then it's good. So I went to that person and said, hey, Farmer Brown, can we talk?
So I see quite a few questions about the plumber. So tell us a little bit about, does the plumber need a special skill set? Will there be training for the plumber? Is it easy to hook up?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? So that'd be a better question for my man, Alkin Paul, who is my plumber. You're really just plumbing it in the system. So if you have a straight pipe, you're cutting the pipe at two places, you're connecting those two pipes into kind of our two external filters. We have two external filters, and then into the unit. So let me just real quick here. In the Virgin Islands, there is like no standard for plumbing, right? Plumbing goes every possible direction. And so you have to know what you're doing, right? The water's coming in, it's got to take a particular route around this or through that. It's never cut and dry, no more than the plumbing in every house is the same. So if you're asking me if you can be like a non-certified plumber, I have to think about that because at the end of the day, we are as a company insured and accountable for the installation, the proper installation of the equipment. And that's the reason that we require a plumber.
Okay. Trying to see some that we haven't seen yet. Sarah says, with water futures being traded on the stock market, I see a lot of potential for growth. You've already acknowledged that you're going up against very entrenched competitors. How do you intend to protect your IP from the vultures? And you answered that one.
Right, right. So obviously a patent, but that's very interesting. Interesting you should say that, because this Friday, a hedge fund investor in the water space is flying in to meet me. A brother, excited, says he wants to talk. I'm not surprised. So yes, I am going up against some very entrenched companies. My advantage is that they still need me, right? They might be entrenched, but I'm no real threat to them. And I don't think they want to be seen as knocking off a small little black concern just because they wanted to keep their market share. The Caribbean is currently completely open, and there is a reason why no one company dominates it. It is my intention to be the go-to company for the entire Caribbean, not just with my water purifiers, but also with the kind of cleaning up of hard water. Not everybody's going to need or want the system, but they're going to need or want this to get those that have wells, and there are lots of them in the Caribbean, to remove the hardness. So the goal is to kind of get our tendrils in everywhere and not make ourselves metaphorically an island, but to make our position strong and work with these competitors, because it is not in their interest to try to knock us off. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be seen as knocking us off, and it's not going to go over too well with the islanders, which, you know, again, $1.2 billion market just for my space, just for whole house water purification.
Have you considered to use the technology in other products such as water bottles?
Okay, so that's interesting. You should say that as well, because one of the, in spending my time in the Caribbean, one of the biggest problems that they have is plastic bottles. You know, the Caribbean, believe it or not, is the third largest polluter in the world when it comes to plastic bottles. It's because they have no choice, right? They have to import bottled waters and bottled water, and the bottled watering companies are glad to send it down to them. So last time I was there, I met with a couple of the brewing companies down there, Crujon Rum, Captain Morgan, and Leatherback Beer. And I said, hey, I've got an idea. Fiji makes their own water, right? You know, there's water from, can't think of the Italian company. Everybody makes their own water. I said, why doesn't the Virgin Island make its own water, but with this catch? Put it in aluminum cans. And in fact, use rainwater, because everybody else talks about these wonderful streams that they get theirs from. Why not use rainwater? And I can tell you, it's actually being very well received at this moment. We're going to be conducting a pilot on the island of St. John to sell canned rainwater.
Very good.
I wasn't supposed to tell you that, but there it is.
What specific plans do you have for the money that you raise?
Well, really, it's going to be kind of the final evolution of engineering, because we have to hire people to finish up the AI. We have machine learning built into the system right now, but you know, it still requires maybe another month, 2 months of programming. And of course, the most important thing to any company is sales and marketing. So the majority of the money is going to be for sales and marketing. Of course, we have facilities located in St. Croix we intend to move into. It's a 10,000 square foot space where we'll be able to do our assembly. So we'll need people for that. And all the things that come into opening a plant. So we're looking to raise $5 million. And believe it or not, that'll be enough to kind of get us started. We don't intend to keep going. We're going to go to the well one more time. But beyond that, our plan is simple. We grow through sales. So sales and marketing is going to be extremely important. We're going to do prodigious internet marketing, social media marketing. You talk about things like climate and conservation and you know, and water and all that. We're going to be everywhere. We're going to be absolutely everywhere, and everyone's going to know about us, and they're going to be buying these units. So yeah, the plan is to take this money, because you know it takes money to make money, and we're going to put ourselves out there, because you didn't hear about us until you stumbled across this. What's going to happen when the world knows about us? And that's the plan. We want to make the world aware of us, but we want to do it carefully. We want to rush out there and suddenly we've got 5,000, 10,000 orders in one day, and we're unable to fulfill them. I have no intentions on making that mistake.
Okay, I'm going to combine two questions here. So Donna says, when did you create this? And then Anonymous says, I saw you've been seeking investment since 2017. Why so long?
Right. So I created this in 2015, and this wasn't its original intent. I happen to like classic vehicles. So I have an old Jeep. It's called a Woody. It's called a Grand Wagoneer, and I have a 1966 I used to have a 66 Jaguar S-Type. I used to have a gentleman that come through and wash the cars, and I watched as all the water went down the drain. And I asked him why he wasn't repurifying. He says no device exists that could do that. And so that got me started on this journey. And so I started the journey to invent the device. And so I've been working on it that long. As far as my looking for investors, that is correct. I tried this crowdfunding thing once before. I invested, after spending a couple $100,000 of my own money, I went through a crowdfunding website called Crowdfund Mafia. Appropriate name. I spent on advertising maybe $40,000. I got back $2,800. And there are numerous reasons for that. My technology wasn't there. It was in you saw the video, it was in that case. I didn't have a patent. I didn't have traction. All I had was, metaphorically speaking, stuff written on a napkin, right? This is what I have. This is what I'm going to do. This is where I plan on going. I'm not a person that quits, and nor did I look at that as a failure. There's a statement from this cartoon I used to love as a kid called The Cat in the Hat. And the Cat in the Hat said, the only way to find something is to find out where it's not, right? So at that time, I attempted crowdfunding. It didn't work. I realized that that was not the time to do it. So I came back to the drawing board. Then I focused on evolving the technology, putting it into the hands of people that needed, getting into conversations and agreements with the HBCUs and the governments and commercial entities, and establishing kind of a bulwark, if you will, a support for the technology. And now I come back out and say, okay, now, full disclosure, I have investors. I just don't want to use them because I wanted the investors to, I just wanted them to be black. I wanted them to be black. So that is the reason I took the crowdfunding route this time. I didn't have to take it, but it is important for me that this company be perceived as what I want it to be perceived as. Again, not a racial thing, just it's more of a, this is what I want for us. So yes, I tried it once before, but if at first you don't succeed. So even when you go to WeFunder now, I think this is like $76,000 or $80,000. We actually have close to $200,000. The friends and family thing kicked in, and a lot of my family members did not want to write a $20,000 check to WeFunder. They wanted to send it directly to us. So we've actually done pretty good for the friends and family portion of it. You folks are actually the first ones to see it. If this conversation had occurred the week after next, there may not, I'm just saying may not be any equity, because when we start that campaign next week, it's going to be everywhere. So this is, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So this is me trying again. And here we are.
Here we are. Okay, we've got time for a few more questions. Chaz says, have you heard of Aquagenuity? It's a Black-owned entity that provides education and gives real-time updates on water quality in your area. On the back end, they partner with companies that sell purification technology. Would love to make an introduction if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Never heard of them.
Okay, Chaz.
And you saw I answered that so quickly. I've spent most of my time focused on getting this product out. So there's a lot I don't know. People are like, hey, have you reached out to Bill Gates or Matt Damon? I'm like, nope. I'm busy right now. They don't know me. They don't want to know me. They're gonna want to know me, but not today. So I have to focus on, instead of trying to leap way over there, finalize this. There's a lot I don't know that of people in this space, but I know there are no manufacturing in this space.
So what's a good way for Chaz to make that introduction? To reach out via the website or the campaign?
Yeah, because the website, right? The website email comes directly to me.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Chaz.
Yes. Thank you.
Dave says, so you answered where the equipment is manufactured. You said currently in North Carolina, but you're going to move that to the Virgin Islands. The other question is, where do you get your parts from?
Can't tell you that, but okay. I can tell you that we do get 2 parts from China. The rest are from here.
Okay. Very good. Tony says, what % of the target market is commercial versus residential clients? For the average West Indian individual, the cost is very prohibitive. As a Caribbean person, I would be concerned that the majority of my family and friends back home likely could afford this only if they finance it.
Right. So that's a fair question. We have not actually divined the the difference between commercial and residential for the entire Caribbean. We know what it looks like in the Virgin Islands, but understand and believe this. My plan is to make this thing available to everyone. So you're right. At the current time, the options are, you finance it, or we get a 501c3 in to kind of underwrite it, but also know that we're working on different iterations of the device, which are not so costly. Remember, these are the first devices out there, and like the first device, it's not going to be the only device. As we continue to get data from these devices, as we continue to install units in people's homes and businesses, we'll identify what's really needed, right? And this is to me, it's a right. So trust and believe that we're going to make it available to those. Remember, there's still a cost associated with it, that we can make it available to, and I'll be looking to the stakeholders to help me get there, right? So all I can do is kind of work on the cost of goods, right? So we're doing things like engineering things ourselves. Our own circuit boards we're having manufactured. When we get to the point where we can manufacture pretty much all of the parts, except for the ones it doesn't make sense to manufacture, the price will drop substantially. I can tell you the $4,500 price right now was actually almost $7,000 as soon as 4 months ago. But we keep going back to the drawing table saying, okay, where do we cut without losing quality, without sacrificing the structural integrity of the device? And we were able to do it. And plus, because of our potential, our suppliers are now starting to be more competitive. They understand and see the size of this market, and they see that we're serious because they don't have to take my word for it. When you go to the website, you see those names, you can reach those people, and they'll tell you. You can reach the government. You call the government of the Virgin Islands, specifically the Economic Development Authority. They said they're going to build a statue after me. I said, make it out of ice. So yeah. My plan is to put this in everyone's hands. And I can only do that with help, but I intend to do it.
Very good. So Anonymous says, if you are installing, how can it work without power? You mentioned something about solar panels in the beginning.
Right. So the unit is an inline filter, which means that water flows from point A to point B, and we stick this filter in the middle of it, right? And because it automatically already flows from point A to point B, that means something must be pushing it, an external pump, whether it's the pumping station or it's the pump in your well or the pump in your cistern. We're simply sticking our device in the middle of it and letting your pump do its thing. So it goes through our unit. Our unit filters out all whatever the constituents that are in the water. Our unit then monitors the amount of constituent in the unit. And then when it sees that it's starting to reach what is called a transmembrane quiescent pressure, it'll turn on long enough to flush everything back out to your garden so your plants can eat it. So it doesn't need to come on until it needs to come on. And yes, it does have solar capabilities, because after the last 2 hurricanes that hit the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands was out of power for months, which means people were out of water for months. People were washing, their bodies and, their vegetables and everything with bottled water. My unit will allow them, as long as they have the sun, and there's a ridiculous amount of that in the Caribbean, to be able to continuously purify water. In that instance, yes, our unit is then powered, but it's powered by the sun at that point.
Okay. And let's see, I saw one more question before we give our final statements. Where did it go? Was a question about the military. Oh, okay. I think there's 2. One person says, have you considered the military? And then someone else says, I foresee this unit as being used by the military in remote areas or deep patrols. Have you considered selling it to them?
Okay, so we are currently in serious conversations, without me giving away anything, with the Department of Defense to provide portable water purification for single troops to platoon level troops, so that, yes, when they are in the field, they'll be able to come up to any watering hole with anything in it and purify it. So yes, those conversations have been going on for almost 6 months, and the most I can say is that we're close,
Okay,
and that's exciting.
that's super exciting. These are again, community, great questions. I'll say my final words and then I'll let Nimon say his. You know, we here at the 10K Project, we don't endorse, right? We bring you amazing entrepreneurs and you make an individual decision on if you want to invest with them or not. We're not a fund. We don't do group think. You decide what works for your portfolio. What I do ask every week, however, is that if this is something that resonated with you, if you believe in the potential of this product, if you believe in this Black founder, then please share this campaign with your family and friends, right? Share it on your social media. If you happen to go on WeFunder and make an investment, give 10K a shout out, right? Let them know that 10K sent you, that you heard about them from the 10K Project. But the most important thing is that we stand behind this founder to make sure as many people see this campaign as possibly can. And that is what I will ask you to do is share, share, share. Okay. Please, this was wonderful that you came here to talk to us and to share this with us. I am very grateful for you presenting this to our community and giving us an opportunity to get on the ground floor of something amazing. Is there anything you'd like to say as a final word?
Yes, I'm honored and grateful at the opportunity myself, and humbled by it. I've always been humbled by this whole process because I felt like I've been led, and what a great place to be, from my standpoint, to be in front of a group of Black investors that are looking to really get into the game, and for me to be on the receiving end of whatever occurs this evening. It is my intention to build a world-class company, and I am a very focused individual, intend to do it. It'd be an honor to have any of you to participate in this journey with me. This is not, from my mind, an opportunity. If I weren't directly involved with it, I would definitely be investing. And I know you expect that from the founder, but I have my moments when this seems like an out-of-body experience, and I don't understand sometimes how I invented it. But I'm a nerd. It was going to happen. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your evening to come and listen to this pitch. If you decide not to invest, at least keep an eye on us. We are going to change the world. And I don't feel as though there are going to be a whole lot of people trying to knock us off, because we kind of stand alone at this moment as a Black company. And I believe in what we're doing, and we're kind of ahead of some of the other guys in this game, and they really want to see how we're doing it, and succeeding in what we're doing is going to be important. And that can only happen if I have the support of my people. And again, it's an honor, and I thank you very much for your time.
And I'll just add one last thing. If the children were not already sitting with you watching this, Cherie is always really good about getting us the replay out within an hour or so after the pitch, after it renders. Please replay this and let them watch it. We owe it to our children to put people like Nimon in front of them to see what an inventor looks like, right? They look just like us. And I think we owe that to our children to know that this is possible. And as they have ideas that seem ridiculous, don't dismiss them, right? We all looked at this, and the first thing many of us said in the chat was, why didn't anybody already do this? Like, right? And so, we're talking years and years and years, and centuries have gone by and no one's done it yet. So there are amazing ideas in our children's heads, and they just need us to co-sign them and play along, right? Because it could be something great. Don't be so quick to dismiss it. And put them on this path. If you've got a creative kid and they're always building stuff or taking stuff apart, instead of fussing at them about it, that was you, right? Instead of fussing at them about it, tap into that. A couple of sessions ago, we learned, how we have to focus on the child's strength, right? Stop trying to put them in a box. What do they like to do? What do you see in them? This is a perfect example of a man who was allowed to dream and build, and this is the reward. And so, brother, I say, I'm gonna give you your congratulations in advance.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I am so very proud of you. I am proud that our paths have crossed. It has been a blessing. I still want dibs on Ghana. I'm not playing about that.
Let's talk. Let's talk. I'm gonna be there probably in 3 months, so we can talk.
But you will do fine. You will do fine. This is brilliant. All right. On that note, family, we'll see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another Bet on Black Pitch. Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Bye.